episode 11, Complications. And it's your boy Icon with a DC TV review for you. And here we go with some Superman and Lois. Also, I am going to Brooklyn Comic Con today, so more footage on that coming soon. Definitely check that out. So now, in this particular episode, Lois is having her surgery. And the whole family's together, they're trying to support her and everything. So they have a dinner for her, right before she goes into the surgery. The Irons family shows up, the Lane family shows up. And despite the fact that everybody's here to celebrate Lois and to send her off, give her a nice night before she has her surgery, Natalie and Lois don't even cross in the night. They don't hug each other. They don't speak. They have no interaction whatsoever. Actually, it was so weird because Lana was in the kitchen, and then the Irons family, John and Natalie, they come into the room. They're talking to Sarah. They're talking to Lana, and then Sarah and Natalie end up leaving the room and going into the living room. And as soon as they exited and went into the living room, Lois and Clark came in. And I was just like, yeah, I couldn't have waited like 2 more seconds. Like something's off there, because I refuse to believe this was done by accident. It's like because these two have literally had the only interaction these two have had the entire season was when she gave her that damn watch. But anyway, so now they're talking. Everybody's laughing, having a good time. Kyle is still relishing over the fact that he knows who Superman is, and he's just like, oh shit, you fucking Superman. And he's just like, come on, can't. He's like, remember back in high school when I used to, give you the wedgies and everything. And then he was just like, yes, and don't ever do that again. So then he tells him, he's just like, listen, he said, but now that you know, I just need you to keep my secret, keep your mouth shut, because otherwise I'm gonna have to kill you. So then that's when Chrissy, she gets happy, and then she's just like, oh, I'm so glad that you know, because it was killing me not to tell you. And then he was just like, yeah, but you still lied to me. And he's like, I don't appreciate that. And he blew that whole thing out of proportion. And I said that last week. I was just like, okay, here we go with the Kyle everyone lied to me tour. But at least he didn't do it to like Sarah. He didn't do it to Lana. He didn't do it to like Lois. Well, he couldn't do it to Lois, but he basically only did it to Chrissy. And that was unfair to Chrissy. Like, he was all like bitchy and pissy about it. Then he got mad and he walked away. Back at Lois's party now, the kids are talking. And then that's when Natalie was just telling everybody, she said that she misses Mateo and that she wished that she could speak to him one last time, which made Sarah feel some kind of way because Jordan, the whole party, he was actually avoiding Sarah. He was sitting out while everybody was inside eating and everything. Jordan was sitting outside. Sarah comes outside to talk to him, and she's just like, look, she said, I apologized for what happened at the party. And she was just like, why are you still upset at me? Why are you still not talking to me? And then Jordan was just like, well, he said, you're not really sorry about what you did. He said that the only reason why you apologize is because I saved your life and now you feel guilty. But if I never saved your life, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now, which is facts, And I give Jordan a little, because he's been simping all season, and I give him a little bit of respect for standing his ground and not just saying, oh, I forgive you, Sarah. And like, no, he was just like, nah, that shit wasn't cool. And then she was just like, I thought we were friends. And he was like, so did I, but the way you've been treating me, I thought differently. And then she gets upset and then she goes home. The next morning, Lana shows up. Sarah's in the kitchen crying because she's just like, oh, I ruined everything, Mom. And Jordan hates me and I'll never get into college now because I have a DUI. And I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't know anything about that alcohol, that alcohol life. I don't think Sarah has a drinking problem. She just went to a party, got drunk, and then because she got scared that the cops were coming, just made a bad decision. But the whole thing about her getting a DUI, because she was just like, oh, I'll never get into college and I'll never leave Smallville. The whole thing about a DUI staying on your record for 5 years, I didn't know that, but if that's the case, fine, whatever. But what the hell does that have to do with her getting into college? I don't understand what a DUI has to do with her. Like, the fact that she has a DUI, I'm just like, you could still go to college. And then she, maybe certain schools, they look into a background, they're just like, oh, you have a DUI, so, you're a risk, when we have millions of college girls that go drinking and get drunk every single day. But, but she could go to community college. Like, isn't Metropolis, like, not that far away from Smallville? Like, she can go to a community college. Like, that whole scene was weird. Because she was just like, oh, my life is literally over. And I'm like, how? But anyway, so she starts, she starts crying. She gets upset. Lana then goes and talks to Kyle because she's like, oh, Kyle, I'm afraid. Like the last time I saw Sarah this upset was when she almost killed herself. And then Kyle ended up talking to her. And then he was just like, look, he said that, you're going through some shit. Whether you hit rock bottom yet, that's up for you to decide. But he said you got to put all the negativity away, put it to the side, and replace with something positive. And then now, because remember when I said in the beginning of the season, when they had Candace working at the diner, I was just like, wow, so Candace working at the diner that randomly came out of nowhere. The whole purpose of them showing us Candace working at the diner was so she can then quit the diner and Sarah could take her spot. Because Kyle said in the end, he said, just try getting a job. Focus on something, get a job, make your own money, help people, service the community, and then slowly, like get your life back on track. Like stay out of trouble, stop going to parties and all like this crazy shit. So she ends up getting the job and she's now taking Candace's position and she's going to start working at the diner. Lana then gets all up in Kyle's business and tells him that he should take his own advice when it comes to Chrissy. And then he goes and apologizes to Chrissy. And then, Chrissy accepts his apology. Then Kyle and Chrissy have sex in the newsroom. So Natalie then, she ends up going to the Manheim household and she planted her little computer AI device like in the household. John Henry shows up and he's like, Nat, what are you doing? And then she's like, I was looking for Mateo. And then he was just like, yo, you gotta let him go because either he gonna be on the run or they gonna lock his ass up. And he's like, I don't want you sitting. He's like, I don't want you having a prison romance. Your life barely started. So the two of them leave and then the device is still sitting there in the room. The Manheim family now, who's underground, literally in the building, they're making preparations to leave. So they're trying to get out of the city. They're waiting for the jet to come so they can go to some random remote beach somewhere. And then right before they're about to leave, that's when Pia's powers started going out of control. She ended up becoming unstable. I understand she's a meta. She has meta abilities. They never said how she has meta abilities. The conversation of where her meta abilities came from never got brought up. She has cancer. They never really explained how the two are connected because it almost seemed like her cancer is causing her powers to go out of control or vice versa. I don't know. It just never seemed like, hey, she's a metahuman that just happens to have cancer. It always seemed like her cancer and her meta abilities were in some way tied in. And they never said anything about her power anyway. So she starts wigging out of control. Now her powers are going around. I don't even really know what her powers are. Are they supersonic? Are they vibrational? I don't even know what her powers really are. But her powers start going haywire. And then it starts sending these vibrations through the city. And now everybody's dying and suffering and nobody knows what to do. The Kent family's at the hospital now because Lois is about to go into surgery. And then when Lois goes into surgery, they're talking to Lois about the surgery. And the doctors are saying, well, what could go wrong? What could go right? And everything. And while they're talking, Jordan starts freaking out. He gets all emotional. He goes outside, starts hyperventilating. And we find out that the reason why he's hyperventilating is because a new power of his is starting to kick in because powers are triggered by emotions. And this particular power just happens to be the X-ray vision because there was a moment where he was on the floor rocking back and forth. And then he was just like, yo, I'm trying to close my eyes and I can't close my eyes. And then Jonathan was like, bro, your eyes are closed. But then that's when Superman was just like, shit. He's like, your X-ray vision's kicking in. Now we can never send you to school again with all those girls. and then Jonathan was able to calm him down and they got things situated. And then that's when the vibration started. And then Superman was like, shit, something's going on. Stay here with your mom. I got to go save the day. Mateo ends up going upstairs to try to call 911. And then that's when the AI that Natalie had planted, scanned him. And she was just like, oh, Mateo, Natalie will be here in 3, 2. And then Natalie shows up. And then she starts talking to Mateo. And then Bruno shows up. And John Henry Irons shows up. And then he was just like, look, bro, he said, you could either fight me or we could try to save your wife. What's really good? And then he was just like, fine, we'll try to save my wife. And then Superman got the call because Superman found out where Pia was. And then Superman flew to Pia because nobody could get close to her because her power vibrations were too unstable, too out of control. So Superman goes down there. He starts talking to Pia. And then she's just like, oh, this isn't what I wanted and blah, blah, blah. And then, he was just like, oh, you got to let go. Because he actually scanned her. He used his X-ray vision to scan her. And he saw that her organs were dead. So he was just like, look, you got to let go. Because he said, by you holding on, he's like, you're going to destroy the city and everybody in it, including Mateo and including Bruno. So then she was just like, fine. But she was like, tell my family I love them. And then Superman grabbed her. He flew her up into the sky. And then she spontaneously combusted into the sky. And unfortunately, Pia is dead, which is sad because I actually liked her character. And then we got a nice cool shot with Superman carrying her as he was floating down, to the rooftop. He placed Pia down, Bruno started crying, Mateo started crying, everybody was crying. The Irons family held hands, and Superman was just there yo, I tried, bro. That's all he could do. Lois' surgery went well, everything's okay. They told her that Pia died, she felt bad. And then that's when the general, he brought them down to the DOE. He was going to throw the book at them, but then that's when Bruno said, he was just like, oh, I'll tell you everything in exchange for my son's immunity. He's like, clear my son of all charges. And then he told John Henry Irons, of all people, he was like, look after my son. And then he was like, you have my word. And I was like, well, this is going to be awkward because earlier we had Jonathan's girlfriend living in the Kent household. So I'm like, is Mateo going to live with the Irons family now? What's going on with that? So that's going to be weird. But if Mateo does stay on the show, I'm okay with that. because I do like Mateo as a character. Like, he's a cool guy. He's a nice guy. Like, he's the type of character that Mateo has. He's good to be around all this chaos because he just seems like a calming force that can reel people in. And plus, he keeps Natalie focused and keeps Natalie, like in check, or whatever. So, like I said, but they'll probably do a thing where he'll go live with his mom, or he'll go live with his aunt, and she'll check on him like once in a while at his aunt's house. And so it'll be a solo thing. But we'll see what happens with Mateo. And then, like I said, but Bruno was just like, yeah, like I spilled the beans on everything, but he never told him about the Superman body, which is actually like the Bizarro Superman body, which is downstairs in the basement. So I hope he's gonna tell them about that shit pretty soon. And then when we zoomed downstairs, we actually saw that the Bizarro Superman woke up finally. Like, his eyes were open like 4 episodes ago, and I'm like, did he just go back to sleep? But now he's up, he's walking around, he's just like screaming. He's screaming in the basement. He's just like, and everything. So I thought the series, like the whole thing with Pia dying and everything, I thought that was gonna be the season finale. I thought the season finale was going to end with Pia dying and Bruno like turning himself in and everything, but we got 2 more episodes left, and apparently the true Lex Luthor is still coming too. I forgot about Lex Luthor. So the whole Bizarro Superman Lex Luthor thing, I guess this is the true big bad of the season. So we'll see what happens with 2 episodes to go. That's how the episode ended. And for the love of God, thank you for tuning in. So now we'll see. Like I said, we'll see what happens, because I don't know what they're going to do with Lex Luthor for 2 episodes. And the guy that's playing Lex Luthor, I believe he played in Cloak and Dagger. He was the police officer that shot Tyrone's brother. I got to look more into that, but he does look like that with the... I'm not used to seeing Lex Luthor with hair, like that's what makes it weird. But like I said, but I don't know. Share your questions, comments, and or concerns down below. Like, are you happy that Jordan stopped simping and started pimping? Do you agree with Sarah's whole attitude and everything? Because Sarah just did a 360 where she went from being perfectly fine one episode to now she got a DUI. It's like she's doing community service. The next episode, when is John Henry Irons and Lana Lang gonna get together? What happens now with Bruno and Mateo and the gang and the Bizarro Superman? And we'll continue to talk about it. Hit the notification bell so you get notified when my videos pop up. We're going all in on that Street Fighter 6 right now. We got Street Fighter 6 videos on the channel. Watch my Street Fighter 6 videos because we're doing each character story mode. I got 6 characters down up on the channel with 12 more to go, and I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, please jump in when I do a live stream, share your comments, and we'll continue to talk about it. We got the Flash movie coming up on the 16th, so we're definitely going to do a review for the Flash movie, and keep an eye out because, like I said, I'm going to Brooklyn Comic Con, and I'm going to have a video for that as well. So up, and away, guys, as always. Thank you for tuning in. Until, well, I think we're getting a week off, so Superman, we're getting 1 week off, and then we're coming back with the final 2 episodes. And until then, I'm up and away as always, and I'm out this. Yeah!